Thank you both so much for being here on New Mexico in Focus. Isidoro, I want to start with you. For people who may not be familiar with your organization, Housing New Mexico, can you start by explaining what your agency does?
Definitely. Thank you, Nash, and thank you for inviting us. Housing New Mexico, or the Mortgage Finance Authority, was created in 1975. We had basically started with one program, which was to have below market interest rate mortgages for first-time home buyers. Fast forward to 1997, Governor Johnson at the time transferred all of the housing programs that were at various state agencies over to the Mortgage Finance Authority to have a one-stop shop and more efficiently deliver those products or the housing services across the state. And since then, we've grown tremendously. We now have close to 40 programs, about as many different funders, and we serve the entire state as a quasi-governmental entity where we're not a state agency, but we do serve the entire state. And we just, about 2 years ago, we determined that Mortgage Finance Authority doesn't fully describe what we do as an agency, so we rebranded to Housing New Mexico.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, we are talking about this new big federal housing bill. What role will Housing New Mexico play in rolling this thing out?
Our role will be to really get our arms around this bill and take full advantage of any funding that is available to come to the state so we can make sure we aggressively pursue it and bring it to the state to serve the families of New Mexico.
Okay. Well, thanks for laying that out. I'd like to next lay out kind of what is our current situation in terms of New Mexico's housing stock right now. How far short are we?
You know, I'll start by saying that in 2022 we published a housing strategy for the state. We've updated it here earlier this year, and the indications are that we need anywhere from 3,200 to 3,400 rental units. This is for families that are very low income that are struggling to find units. It's estimated that by 2045, there's about 58,000 units that'll be needed, about 40,000, just under 40,000 of single-family ownership units and about 18,000 of rental units. So there is a big need, and it's more acute with the lower income or very low-income families.
Okay. And now, Elizabeth, Senator Martin Heinrich, who co-sponsored the bill, said that it is going to quickly bring affordable housing onto the market, that it will cut the bureaucratic red tape that stands in the way of that. How will it do that?
Well, with regard to the adjective quickly, I think that's all in the eye of the beholder.
Sure.
There is, like Isidoro said, there is a ton in this bill, in the act. It covers many dozens of federal programs, and it creates, I haven't done a count yet, but I think several dozen new pilot programs, and all of those have their own time.
It's a package of 4 bills, if I understand right.
Right, and so it creates a whole bunch of pilot programs that all have their own time frames. So that the long of the short of it is we don't exactly know how long it will take, but we should start seeing some changes right away. Other pilot programs will need to have regulations developed over the next 12 to 24 months for many of them. And many of the pilot programs are for a set duration, like 3 to 7 years, and then have a look back period and ongoing reporting to determine if they should become permanent programs.
And so if that's kind of the timeline for even getting folks to apply for and get accepted into these pilot programs, then I imagine actual impact on the ground on housing stock would be a little further down the line.
I think that's true. One of the things that we should expect about this bill, this is not one giant program that's top-down delivered from HUD or from the IRS or the federal government like certain other housing programs have been in the past, where you're going to be able to say, this is the effect of 21st Century Road to Housing. You know, we now have this new program. This will kind of infiltrate and filter through federal, state, and local housing, not just funding, but also zoning laws, building codes, all kinds of areas. So basically what we should start feeling over the next starting in the next 12 months and hopefully going on for many years is sort of this feeling of ground up growth of housing. One of the other things that's really cool about the bill, in my opinion, or the act, in my opinion, is that it doesn't ignore the fact that we have a lot of housing right now that we need to preserve, both subsidized housing, but also housing that is not subsidized, that lower income people are living in, they're aging in, and that housing needs to be protected for the long term.
Okay. And Director Hernandez, what does the law change when it comes to private investment? Speaking of preserving some of these units, and what could that mean for both renters and for homeowners?
One of the things that stands out to me in that bill, and Elizabeth can help me out here, is there's a cap on corporate investments into single-family homes. I think no more than 350 that they can own. So I think if limiting, I don't know how much of a problem it is here in New Mexico, but there are other states where there's a lot of corporate investment in single-family homes, so that takes away from the ownership possibilities or the supply of homes out there. So I think by limiting that, it'll definitely help, I think, in maybe having more homes become available for home ownership. As far as other private investments, don't know the full details of it, but I think with banks, they're allowed to invest more now without hitting some of the caps that they previously had into affordable housing. So it went from 15 to 20%. So I think that'll bring more capital into the affordable housing market as well.
Okay. And what about protections for folks renting homes right now?
There are some tweaks to existing housing subsidy programs, like the Section 8 voucher program.
And what does that change about Section 8?
There are, for the past few years, HUD has been working on developing best practices to get landlords to voluntarily participate in the Section 8 tenant-based voucher program, because one of the problems that we see with tenant-based vouchers is that there aren't enough landlords around the country that want to accept them. Right. That's been a huge problem in New Mexico that we've been trying to work on at the state and local level as well. And so the soft approach to that is to create more incentives and more kind of outreach to landlords to get them to participate in the program. And the act does create further incentives and further reassurances for landlords to get them to participate in the Section 8 voucher program. For example, one of the reasons landlords have historically not wanted to do it is because when a tenant comes to rent an apartment and they have a voucher, the housing authority or another agency has to come and inspect that unit and make sure it meets housing quality standards set by HUD, and that can take time. And so the local response has been, from states and localities that are trying to help landlords participate in the program, has been to reimburse landlords for that lost time. HUD has, the act has gone one better by allowing landlords to qualify their units as satisfying housing quality standards before a tenant even comes to them. So basically it allows landlords to choose to opt in and have their units pre-certified as being eligible to receive vouchers, okay, so that people can go there.
So this incentive, maybe more landlords are going to be accepting these vouchers, right. But it sounds like maybe on the protection side of things, maybe that's going to fall to state and local policy.
Yes, there are definitely the Road to Housing Act is absolutely full of carrots and sticks from the federal government to states, localities, and tribes to get them to act in certain ways, change their laws in certain ways, including their protections of low-income households. One carrot that I'll mention that I think is just wonderful, it's a pilot program, it's really small. I don't think we're going to see, I would be delighted but surprised if New Mexico even gets to participate in the pilot program because it's so very small to get started.
Meaning only a couple will be accepted, right. A couple states.
There are only 10 applications will be accepted into this pilot program, whether it be states or localities. Okay. So teeny tiny, but it's a whole home renovation forgivable grant that can be given out to either low-income homeowners or small mom-and-pop landlords with with up to 1 to 4 rental units, where they can do massive repairs on that property. If it's a rental unit, then they have to make commitments to keep the units affordable for a specific number of years. So that's one of the kind of carrots that they're, a program that would be really nice to see through the pilot stage. And
Fingers crossed one might come to New Mexico. Thank you all for laying this out. I'm going to ask you to stick around. We can get into a few more specifics around this bill. Thanks.
Great.